Thanks for all the great feedback on the TGL. Most of it was over my head as it pertained to some of the tracking technology being used on the broadcast. Some of you, not a big fan of those systems, but one source shared that TGL is doing what it said it would do: grab a younger audience, with viewers 18 to 49 making up 43% of viewership. We'll continue to watch. And let's just say there was some spirited debate in the SBJ newsroom about the TGL and its product. Fun stuff. Also, one listener wanted some feedback on the new 3-on-3 Women's Unrivaled League. So, if you've been watching on TNT, let me know what you think. And this is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, January 29th. I'm Abe Madcore. Thanks for listening. You know, I personally do not expect Super Bowl 59 to top last year's record viewership of 123 million viewers. There are various reasons, unless, of course, we're talking about a killer overtime game. I'll just say there are various reasons why I don't think it'll hit that number. Just a few headwinds into the game leading to believe the number will be smaller than last year. But it will be a big day for Fox Sports, as it will be its most lucrative Super Bowl yet, with a number of double-digit advertising spots selling for north of $8 million. Yes, $8 million. So let's go back to viewership. There's been some hand-wringing of concern about recent NFL playoff numbers being down. But boy, did the Chiefs-Bills on Sunday shake all that up. That game is now the most watched AFC Championship game on record. CBS drawing nearly 58 million viewers. Amazing. And that easily tops the prior record of 55 million viewers set last year, Chiefs-Ravens. And for historical perspective, Chiefs-Bills is also the best for any NFC or AFC title game since 2012, when Fox, in prime time, got almost 58 million viewers for Giants 49ers. Now, meanwhile, the early game on Sunday, Eagles win over the Commanders, drew 44 million viewers. That was the least watched NFC title game since 2019. Rams-Saints drew 44 million viewers. So, of course, the close Chiefs-Bills game with such drama and such a following sets a record for an AFC title game. We'll have to see how these numbers lead to any momentum of viewership going into the Super Bowl. You know, let's shift to NASCAR, because if you want to see just how much history means to that sport, let's look at the merchandise sales numbers of the major personalities in NASCAR as reported by my colleague Adam Stern. Numbers show that the Earnhardt family remains such a major force in NASCAR merchandise sales. Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Jr. are in the top 10 of driver sales. Here's the deal. When factoring in merchandise sales online and at track, when you include both current and former drivers and you take out the NASCAR bar and the NASCAR brand, Dale Sr. comes in at number 9. Dale Jr. comes in at number 10. Amazing when you think about it, because Dale Sr., of course, died in 2001 at the Daytona 500, and Dale Jr. hasn't raced really competitively since 2017, but it shows the strength and the legacy of the Earnhardt brand. Here are the top NASCAR driver sales in 2024. Chase Elliott was number 1. I mentioned the NASCAR brand. When you factor that in, that's number 2. Kyle Larson, number 3. Ross Chastain, number 4. Kyle Busch, number 5. But when you strip it all back, Dale Jr., Dale Sr., still very popular among the NASCAR faithful. Remember, the NASCAR season starts this weekend with the Cookout Clash. That's the exhibition race at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is the race that used to be at the LA Memorial Coliseum. They shifted it this year to another historic landmark, that race this weekend. For all of those on the East Coast that complain about the late tip-offs, well, the NCAA is doing something about it. The NCAA Men's Tournament Championship game tip-off has been moved up to 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 30 minutes earlier than its traditional start time of 9:20, which I always felt was too late. Now, this is good for those on the East Coast, as the games recently have ended around midnight. But this change in tip-off time comes as ratings for the Final Four have dipped in recent seasons. Now, some would argue that the later start better positions a sports event for higher ratings because more people are watching around the country. But this move follows a little bit of a pattern in college sports, because remember, the college football playoff, they moved up their title game from 8 o'clock to 7:30. So trust me, do not overlook the amount of time and energy that goes into time slots and scheduling. You would be shocked about how many high-level conversations we have at SBJ with leaders in sports, and it always comes back to concerns or issues over time slots, schedules, and day of games. So the NCAA moving up its men's tournament final from 9:20 to 8:50. Here's a quick snapshot into two large college institutions and their financials. The University of Texas recorded $332 million in revenue and $325 million in expenses during fiscal year 2024. Not this year, but the year prior. And this marks the first time a Division I school has reported more than $300 million in both revenue and expenses. There's a lot of nuance to these numbers that I won't get into on the Buzzcast, but they're still impressive numbers. Here's another detail. The move to the SEC has helped, as since Texas shifted into the SEC, it has reported nearly $70 million from licensing and advertising and sponsorship, and that is up $14 million from 2023. So again, there's a time lag here, but still, they were able to monetize their move to the SEC by a figure north of $14 million when it comes to advertising, licensing, and sponsorship. Now, another school, Ohio State, in the year that it did not win the title, it actually reported a deficit of $38 million. That is for the fiscal year 23 through 24. So through June 30th of 24, they experienced a dip in overall revenue. They brought in $255 million. And there are a number of reasons for that. They had lower ticket sales. They had fewer home football games. The department was also down nearly $9 million in sponsorship and licensing. But remember, these numbers represent the fiscal 23 through 24 year. It is not the year they won the national championship. So we'll see the numbers certainly increase next year. Ohio State is clearly likely to have a $300 million budget for athletics in this fiscal year. But overall, you're seeing the major growth in revenue on some of these big campuses. And finally, we'll end with this. Another day, another league, a new women's basketball league, is called Upshot League, and it has named Jacksonville as the league headquarters, and Jacksonville will be the home of the league's first franchise. Now, Jacksonville will be among 4 to 6 markets planned for the 2026 launch. Other markets will be announced later this week. Former WNBA Commissioner Donna Ornder will serve as the league's inaugural commissioner. League backers include Basketball Hall of Famer Cheryl Miller. Now, Donna Ornder said that over the long run, the Upshot League could involve as many as 50 teams, rosters of 11 players per team, drawn primarily from college basketball teams. And as I said, more markets are expected to be announced by the end of this week. So here we are seeing another launch of a women's basketball league. We just saw Unrivaled launch just this month. And so we see a lot of action with all these new leagues. A longtime friend emailed me last night warning that the bubble here is getting bigger and they believe the bubble could pop. They noted the number of volleyball leagues, 2 women's soccer leagues, and the number of basketball ventures. And their concern is that it's going to be a long road for these leagues to be viable and sustainable. I don't have the answer. There is a ton of interest in sports right now. Not all of these leagues, men's or women's, will see the long term. But I will say it's more exciting, more dynamic, and more interest and investment in sports, women's and men's, than I've ever seen before. I would anticipate more leagues launching in the next few months across a number of sports. And so that is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, January 29th. I'm Abe Madcore. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy. Be good to each other. I'll speak to you tomorrow.